Kubokawa.
Sorry, please continue.
Jared Kubokawa is here joining us at Hiroshima Jared, our conference on the topic is on becoming an EFL writing teacher researcher. Okay, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim, and thank you everyone for coming today. I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's get started. So yes, as you can see the title, and I guess it should be in the Japanese EFL context would be added to the end of that title. So today I will talk about, my presentation is from actually a chapter that I've written in a forthcoming edited volume. The article is still under review, so I can't really talk about it and it may not be accepted, but that's kind of where this stems from. And the volume is about EFL writing, teacher education, and development, specifically in the EFL context. And I wrote a Voices from the Field narrative, obviously about my own kind of identity and professional development on becoming a second language writing specialist, both a teacher and a researcher. So that's what I'll talk about today. And I'll discuss kind of how I negotiated certain challenges and opportunities or constraints, however you want to frame it, for my professional development. And I will reflect on two contexts. Okay, this is kind of important. First being my teaching context. I teach at a Japanese university, just general EFL classes, as well as I participate in an MA TESOL program. And I will kind of talk about both of these contexts and how they interacted. Oops. So it's a self-reflexive analysis. It's a narrative inquiry. So I will kind of talk about myself. And lastly, at the end, I will kind of cross that theory praxis bridge and maybe discuss some implications for EFL teacher writing, I guess, second language writing, yes, second language writing, teacher education, and also some student pedagogy stuff. All right, so very quickly, my education, where is my little arrow? I like to use that. There we go. So as I said, I'm doing an MA TESOL, but at a Japanese university. It's an English medium program. And I also, my BA was, I'm from the United States, so I did my BA in the US, University of Illinois. And I worked in the Writing Center. I studied creative writing and literature. I've been working for 15 years as an EFL teacher in various contexts outside of Japan as well, such as Malaysia, Ukraine, other places. And as I said, I'm currently an assistant professor in a Japanese university, and I also have worked as a freelance journalist and author. Okay, so let's start. Now, first I'm going to talk about the MA TESOL program, just a description of it. I do not offer any of my opinions or reflections yet. That will be at the end of the presentation. Oops, forgot my timer. So, like I said, I am participating in a English medium MA here in Japan. It's a 2-year program. The goal of the MA, as the handbook states, is to graduate students who can effectively implement a CLT approach, including task-based teaching in their own classrooms. So thus, they take this kind of CLT approach and they apply it to ongoing action research in your classroom. So classroom-based action research. And again, teachers are, quote, asked to apply newly learned theories, principles, and techniques to their teaching and improve their classroom practice. So it's very much based in applied research, applied classroom research. And the AR requirement, the action research requirement, means that the students in the program must hold a teaching position. It's made for working teachers. So classes are on Saturdays. I actually have to go to a class this afternoon, and I can't attend some of the rest of the workshop, or excuse me, today's conference. I wanted to attend some of the other ones, but I can't. So yes, classes are held on Saturdays and also intensive courses in the summer. It's kind of based on three things. You must complete 15 academic courses. 6 are compulsory and 9 electives. You must write a thesis. And you attend these monthly workshops where you listen to a presenter, and then in the afternoon, you have to report on your AR. So every month we need to present our findings. Here's the course list. If you just want to take a look at it, the required courses are here. These ARs, action research, are the monthly workshops. They're not actually a course. You just kind of attend a workshop and present. And then SLA and second language teaching. And then look at the electives here. What's missing is the question. And of course, the answer is a pedagogy course in teaching second language writing, such as Introduction to Second Language Writing, or any of these courses, specifically addressing written discourse. Okay, so now let's do a description of my university. Very similar to other Japanese universities where I work in my teaching context. Sorry, this is my teaching context. There's about 9,000 undergrads at my university, but only 30 of them on average select the English major, which we call CIE, Contemporary International English. So that amounts to 0.33% of the student population are actually English as a foreign language majors. People can study English in other ways, but actually the language major, very small amount. And I actually do not teach in the CIE program. I teach general EFL courses. I'm an assistant professor. The associated professors teach in the CIE program. But one of the courses that I get to teach is communication skills, where you get an opportunity to kind of generate your own syllabi based on your interests. So I created an EFL writing course in my university context, an EFL creative writing course, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. So we have this freedom to kind of create an EFL writing course in my teaching context, but I believe because there is no writing curriculum, essentially, compared to North American universities. Okay, much of the organization and infrastructure that you would see in a North American university centered on student writing such as first-year composition programs, WAC and WID pedagogies, if you're familiar with that, and academic writing centers. None of these exist in my context, teaching context, which is common practice across the country. Now, as a general idea, just of writing support in Japan across the country, there are 795 universities in Japan as of this month. And on the Writing Center Association of Japan, only 19 writing centers are listed. Of course, Hiroshima University has a fantastic writing center. But if you think about that, out of 795 universities, only 19 of them have peer tutoring and or a writing desk, at least that is registered on the association website. It's quite a small percentage to offer writing support for students outside of the classroom in any language. whether it be their L1, their L2. Not very many writing centers in Japan, but that's just a brief snapshot. So in my teaching context, most of the EFL activity stems from our institute. We have an Institute for Language Education, and I'll talk about that in a second. And that institute houses our self-access learning center, where I created a writing center. Okay, and all of my that writing class that I spoke about, creative writing class, takes place in that SALC. Okay, so now I will reflect on this and offer my opinions about these issues. So in my teaching context at the university where I teach at, the central issue about second language writing is of course the absence of a university-wide writing curriculum and lack of infrastructure for student writers, such as a writing center and other things. Okay, I believe this is due to the very small amount of English majors, 0.33%, and that it's common practice across the country. Okay, although CIE majors do need to write a 6,000 word thesis for their capstone project, they do have to complete 4 EAP courses, English for academic purposes. So they learn how to write academic English, but they are rarely, if ever, given an opportunity to express themselves in genres external to academic writing, or participate in any EFL writing activities outside the classroom setting, such as, publications, presentation opportunities, writing center tutoring, peer feedback sessions outside the class simply does not exist. Okay, now switching back to my MA context, where I am a student, the significant issue is, of course, the lack of an EFL writing pedagogy course. There's no second language writing course. So writing teacher preparation is kind of subsumed by the second language teaching course, which is a required course. But this is a 4 skills course, okay, with CLT approaches. So it should, in theory, it should get 25% of that SLT course. So not very much. Okay, the other issue with my MA context is there is a discourse analysis course, but unfortunately, it only covers spoken discourse, specifically conversation analysis. So in a course labeled discourse analysis, it's technically mislabeled because they don't discuss written discourse at all. They only discuss spoken discourse. So I believe it's technically mislabeled. And I believe this is a missed opportunity. Okay, we'll keep going. So now I talk about this relationship of mutual causation. If you look at both contexts, my teaching context and my MA context, is the lack of writing organization and infrastructure in my university due to the lack of teacher training in my MA? Or is it the other way around? Is there no teacher training because there's no infrastructure for writers? Pardon me, student writers. So I believe that they're kind of caught in a cycle of mutual causation. Okay, they feed into each other. It's like a feedback loop where deficiencies in teacher education cause deficiencies in educating second language writers, and it just continues. Okay, and I do have to say a concession that I'm possibly imposing my own North American viewpoint on this as an ideology on this context. But in both my MA and my teaching context, the capstone project is a written display of knowledge. Okay, I mean, there is an oral defense, but they're displaying knowledge at the end of a program by a written capstone project. So we have to remember that. All right. So now let's reflect on it a little bit. So what I did then, I realized if I was going to become an L2 writing specialist, I would need to find supplemental writing instruction because it was not offered in my MA. And to illustrate this experience, I just want to share an anecdote. So I recorded it actually, so let's listen to the audio. It's just a personal narrative. Okay, looking to fill the L2 writing course gap. I applied as a non-degree seeking graduate student at Arizona State University with the hopes of joining Professor Paul K. Matsuda's teaching L2 writing course, and he, of course, is speaking today. I noticed that the class was arranged to begin that evening. However, my application was still being processed, so I emailed Paul unexpectedly and explained my situation. And quite like other narratives in the field, such as Christina Ortmeyer-Hooper's 2015 narrative, as well as Tanita Sankam's 2015, Paul responded immediately. And having never met him before, within an hour, I had reading materials and a link to attend the video. Because of course I was in Japan. So to this day, Paul continues his, quote, lifetime warranty that comes with his mentoring. Okay, good. Thank you. So I attended Paul's class from Japan, of course, through Zoom, and had a great experience. And I was actually so motivated by this that I signed up for the next L2 writing course that they offer, Advanced Studies in L2 Writing, also taught by Paul. And yes, after that, I published my first article in the Institute Journal at my teaching context. And I tried to be deliberate in my writing in my courses and publish most of my class papers. So this was my workaround. I also created a couple video poster presentations, one that I used at a local symposium and one that I will present at the 2022 TESOL International Convention. I will be doing it online, but it's happening in Pittsburgh this year. So this was kind of my gateway to the world of L2 writing, this course. You know, my MA did not accept transfer credit, but I invested in myself, my future, my own self-efficacy. And I would suggest others doing the same that do not have an L2 writing pedagogy course in their training programs. So in a way, not having this course motivated me to kind of reach out and to an international context and unlock lots of new resources. Okay, and then within Paul's course, also they started a Facebook group with a bunch of other L2 writing courses, such as Lourdes Ortega's, Charlene Polio's, and Christine Tardy's, all professors at different universities in the US. And I'm running out of time here, but this Facebook page created a group which I was able to network in. It created a community of practice. And the culminating assignment for this group was we had to collaborate as kind of in an inter-university group to articulate some of the things that we've learned throughout the semester. And then, so everybody was able to share what they learned, and I kind of noticed gaps in my knowledge and then was able to fulfill these gaps. And it was highly effective, this assignment, because in a way, my knowledge expanded and I gained familiarity with the other 4 professors, their specializations and research directions through this community of practice. And I have another anecdote, but I don't have time to share it. One morning, So from this Facebook group, I formed a relationship with Professor Charlene Poliot at MSU because they were looking for an L2 writing specialist. And we spoke on Zoom and then communicated in email and Facebook, and they just opened a corpus linguistics lab, and I was able to kind of fill that written discourse analysis gap in my MA context by studying with resources and with Charlene about corpus linguistics and applying those type of analysis to my student second language writing. Okay, and then in my teaching context now, reflecting on that, I was able to open a writing center at my university. Of course, I am the only tutor at this moment. It's a pilot project, but trying to offer support to second language writers in my teaching context. And I also created a student publication for their creative writing. Now, I say these achievements simply because I want to show that viewing my teaching context through my own US education of having a writing center, publishing, doing creative writing outside of my courses, and creating a community of practice with other students was very important to me as an undergrad. And so I tried to apply this in my teaching context. And lastly, I don't think that some of these things would have been available had I been teaching in the US, such as creative writing and different practices that I've utilized in my teaching context. So to kind of summarize, my development as an EFL writing specialist where was I? Sorry, I'm running out of time, so I'm getting a little bit flustered. I realized that not having a dedicated EFL writing pedagogy course in my MA prompted me to work even harder to become an L2 writing specialist. So this is quite ironic, but it forced me to reach out, and I was able to join the Facebook group. I was able to join Paul's courses, and I was able to create opportunities for myself and for my students by being proactive and being resourceful and self-efficacious. So, and I also built on my foundation of pedagogies that I was familiar with, such as creative writing and writing center work, and I then expanded that to what I've gained from these courses. So I was able to overcome some of these challenges by networking, creating mentor-mentee relationships with Paul and Charlene, and utilizing technology and online courses. So I would suggest that other writing specialists or people—
Excuse me, Jared. If you want just 1 minute for questions, you have 1 minute left.
And so last, without these affordances, I don't know. I found unique opportunities to work with EFL writers in the Japanese context because of that. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you very much. I was very impressed. I was impressed that the gaps you experienced push you to seek and create opportunities. That's, I mean, rather than being frustrated and giving up.
Well, I was frustrated, but yeah, giving up was not really an option.
Any other people with questions at this time? We do have half a minute left.
Questions? References? Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming and for listening. And yeah, I hope to see you in some of the other talks this afternoon, and good luck if you are presenting as well. Okay.
And thank you very much.
Thank you. Stop.
That was very interesting.